Hey everyone, Burke here. Little disclaimer in front of the power rankings for week 4. This is a much longer video. It is about an hour and 20 minutes long, longer than what we've done, not too much longer, but one of the reasons it's a longer video is because I know some of you were saying, hey, can you do a video on talking about the free agency picks and the trades, and do you like them, do you not like them? We did that on the power rankings and how each free agency pickup affected the team in the power rankings and in future weeks. So we did that in this video. So it's now a longer video, but we just we felt like if we did it this way, it would make a little bit more sense. So, but the consequence is longer video. So enjoy the power rankings. Hope you're able to make it through all of it. What's going on, everyone? My name is Burke, bringing you the Week 4 Power Rankings, but of course, I'm not alone. I'm joined by my co-host, Xavier.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for my absence last week.
Yeah, so back to normal this week. Unfortunately, times didn't line up last week, so it's just me. But now it's not just me, and now any angry comments can start being directed back towards him.
There you go.
So, definitely... another good week. I think were some big upsets this week in terms of, there are some teams that we didn't think that were going to lose. Just they lost. They lost. And those were big losses this week, and there were some pretty big wins this week as well.
Yeah.
So
a lot of small differentials, a lot of big differentials. It's just an all over the place kind of week.
That it was, and especially there's two of the best matches this week, just 1-0s in both just 1-0s, and very good matches either way. But let's move in to number 12, and I have the DMR Shadow Absols still at number 12 this week. There's not really too much to say about him at this point. He's 0-4. He played pretty well. Bisharp is actually putting in a lot of work. He brought Mega Absol and Bisharp that week, which I think was a mistake. Mega Absol and Bisharp, they almost function identically, except I think Bisharp does the job a little bit better. The only thing Mega Absol has got going for it is the bouncing hazards, but he also brought a possible defogger and spinner, so he didn't even need that possibility anyway, but I guess it'll help prevent hazards going up in his side of the field, as well as possibly bounce, will-o-wisps and stuff like that. But Mega Absol didn't do anything. It just pretty much died. But Bisharp did pick up 3 kills, and I think he's starting... This is only a 2-0 in the Iowa Focus Energy's favor, so I think DMR Shadow Absols are starting to get used to their team, and they did pick up a few new Pokemon that will go into effect next week. And if I can go to it, he did drop the Mega Absol, and he also dropped Suicune, and instead he picked up Mega Sceptile and the Scolipede. Now, Mega Sceptile, I think, was a great pickup, dropping the Mega Absol. Yeah, he's dropping his namesake, but he wasn't doing very well with it anyway, and he has the Bisharp already. I think he can use Mega Sceptile well. It's a very good Mega, especially for an OUB, but he dropped a redundant typing and a redundant Pokemon to pick up another redundant typing and Pokemon in Mega Sceptile. Mega Sceptile does a very similar job to Superior. It's a special sweeper, except I think Mega Sceptile has more coverage, but it does not get the contrary. So obviously Superior is, I think, better. It's slower, but I think it does the job a little bit better. So he picked up Mega Sceptile. I can see him dropping Superior in another trading window, just because he doesn't need both Mega Sceptile and Superior. I don't see him bringing both either week, and I guess that's kind of nice to have options in terms of a Grass-type special sweeper, but that one I just... I like the pickup, but then at the same time I don't like the pickup. And then the Scolipede... For Suicune, I don't think Scolipede's that good, especially now I don't know if we're allowing, baton passing, speed boost, and another stat.
Matt, can I
Sure.
say something real quick about that? I'm like 90% sure the clause works like you can't use 2 moves that boost stats. And I'm pretty sure like Scolipede, like Swords Dance and Speed Boost, Baton Pass isn't banned.
Yeah, I'm not certain, but even still, I think baton passing stat boosts. That's pretty much all Scolipede does. I know it could. I think he could surprise people by bringing a speed boost, actually physical sweeper, because it can do that role. I don't think it's great at it, but it can do it. And I just don't agree with the fact that he lost some of his only bulk, and a very good bulky water at that Suicune, and he's picking up more offensive options. I didn't think he really needed it at this point. I would have liked to see him drop maybe something else to pick up a little bit more defense, but he said he's a more offensive player. If he can put Scolipede to work, I'd love to see it, because you don't normally see it do anything, really. So he has a Scolipede now. Overall, I think his team, I didn't think it got better. I don't think it got worse. And considering he hasn't been playing that well, I had to keep him at 12.
Yeah, I also have him at number 12. I agree with pretty much everything you just said. There really isn't too much to say. He's been losing every week. I think this is like the 4th week in a row he's been at number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, I don't even think he was that high. And as far as his trades go, I really don't think Suicune and Scolipede was a good idea. I don't see Scolipede succeeding at all. Like, he might successfully do it once, and I guarantee you, whoever allows a Scolipede to set up and baton pass is getting dropped in the power rankings. I will guarantee you that. Because that, in this format, something like that, like, I don't even see it worth that much in regular play. And for it to work when someone's prepared for it, like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
that should never happen under any circumstance.
Yeah,
opinion.
It's definitely going to be very hard for him to use. I mean, that's why I'm saying it can be used as a physical sweeper with speed boost, but I honestly don't see it coming many weeks. Whereas I could see Suicune coming often, and him using it as the wall is supposed to be, or possibly using it as some sort of more offensive mon, because it's not terrible offensively. But
well, yeah. My problems with it, though, is, like, there are, like, you can run baton pass, you can run the physical offensive sweeper, but even that's honestly not that good. It gets really bad coverage. It gets, like, a poison stab, bug stab. I don't even think it gets, like, earthquake or anything to hit, like, steel types. So it's honestly just not that good. And I guess he could be, like, a focus sash lead with, like, spikes and toxic spikes, but even that for a BL pick really isn't ideal.
It gets a little bit more coverage than you give it credit for. It does get Earthquake. It does get Rock Slide. It does get, Pursuit, and something like, it gets the Mega Horn. It gets, I'm blanking on I think it's Poison Jab. I don't see why it wouldn't get Poison Jab.
But at the same time, it's going to have to run Swords Dance if it wants to sweep, because I believe its attack stat isn't all that high.
It's 100. It's not too bad. It has also things like Aqua Tail, Iron Tail. It does, and superpower. 100 attack
and
superpower
isn't going to be doing that much.
No, I know it's not something that you look at and it's like, oh my god, that's huge. But if it does set up a sword stance and tries to sweep, I can see it having enough coverage to deal with a whole bunch of different threats, because it gets things that people I don't think really see very often. I mean, how often do you see a Scolipede with superpower and Aqua Tail? You don't. But it does get enough coverage that I think it can be used. I just think Suicune was a bad drop for it.
Well, I just don't think it's a good trade at all, in my opinion. The Mega Absol to the Mega Sceptile, I get that. It makes sense. Superior, having that as well, it just doesn't really fit. I feel like he'll be dropping one of those upcoming, but other than that, I don't think it's like anything all too great from them this week. I did enjoy seeing Bishop put in work, though.
Yeah.
That was fun to see because it's a bit of an underrated mon in this format, at least.
Yeah, especially I think it's a good defog blocker. So it's the best. I think it's the best one out there.
Oh
so.
Yeah, because if you let that thing switch in and get a free swords dance,
that's just
someone's gonna be shaking their boots.
And it's great as an intimidate blocker as well. So
yeah, unless you got like a ghost type focus blast.
Yeah, so there's
even then,
it's definitely. I definitely like seeing Bisharp put in work, but we just said there's not too much to say about him, and then we just start rambling on about him. So
hey, I'm a rambler.
Yeah, so am I. And when you get two ramblers together, you get long videos. But moving on to number 11, I have still from last week the Manhattan Manectrix at number 11. Last week he lost pretty badly. I think it was a 5-0 last week, if I remember correctly.
It was a 4-0.
It was a 4-0 last week, okay. And he lost 3-0 this week against the Sequim Malamar, who's been doing very well. And we'll get to him when we get there. So I think he's starting to play his team a little bit better. But again, just like this week, and the trades hadn't taken effect, the problem with his team is there's like the offense that he has is not versatile enough. And it's not that Garchomp you can actually run special, you can run physical, you can do a whole bunch of different things with Garchomp. That's not the problem. Tornadus as well. You can run it very versatile. There's a very versatile offensive options to it. Special, physical, whole bunch of different coverage moves. No problem with that. Jolteon, it's going to be specially offensive most weeks. So, but the problem is when he's going to be bringing the offense, you know what mons he's bringing. He's going to bring the Garchomp, he's going to bring the Tornadus, he's going to bring the Jolteon. It's like, those are the three that are his like best offensive options and almost his only offensive options. He has great options for defense. Like he can bring a whole bunch of different things for defense to help wall, but when it comes to offense, if you plan for the offense enough that it can't break through, then the defense isn't really too much to worry about. So this week I don't think he's playing that well, but I think he's still trying to get used to his team. The Sequim Malamars just kind of ran through and then had a little bit of trouble at the end dealing with the Jolteon. But in this format, Jolteon is very good. I think it's very underrated in this format. So the Jolteon was able to get 3 kills, and I love seeing Jolteon put in work because, you know.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's a Jolteon. So he did also make quite a few changes to his team. He dropped the Arcanine, actually, and he dropped also, I think it was Hitmontop, and he picked up Typhlosion and Sharpedo.
No, I'm pretty sure he dropped the Hitmonlee.
No, that was when it was still the... What was it? It was still the Texas Rhyhorns. They had Hitmonlee. Then when the team changed, he had Hitmontop. And then he dropped Hitmontop.
So he changed that real quick.
Yeah, so he dropped the Hitmontop and the Arcanine for Typhlosion and Sharpedo. I can kind of see what he's doing there. He's dropping some of the bulk, picking up more offense. Now I know like he's dropping Arcanine and picking up Typhlosion. And obviously you're dropping a better fire type for a much more inferior fire type. Sorry, Typhlosion lovers, it's not that great. I mean, it's good. It's a good late game sweeper when you've taken out the obvious counters to it. But obviously Arcanine's just better, especially in this format when you can run it physically offensive, specially offensive, physically defensive. You know, it does a lot of different things. So, but he dropped that for the Sharpedo, which can be a very good late game sweeper. Like, that is definitely a much better late game sweeper than I would say any of the things that he dropped or picked up. And it gives a very strong offensive option, and it gives him more versatility when it comes to offense, and I think that's definitely going to help him in future weeks, because now they're going to have to plan for something having to take a Choice Specs eruption from a Typhlosion, and nothing really takes that well. and also Speed Boost Sharpedo. And that gives him Speed Boost Sharpedo is so damn fast that it's going to be hard to, teams are going to have to really plan well for that. So I definitely see his picks working well for him. I'm not so sure about the Arcanine drop, but he's still at number 11, and I think the picks are going to help him in the future. So I hope he starts, picking up his game, because it's 2 weeks. He's technically 0-4, but I'm considering him 0-2 because he picked up a 0-2 record already. So if he can use these picks well in future weeks, I can see him moving up. But at this point, he's far enough behind where it's going to be hard for him to. He's just going to have to go on a straight winning streak for the next 8 weeks to have a good chance at getting into the playoffs.
Yes. With the way this season's going, I feel as though him getting into playoffs is definitely far from impossible, considering a lot of teams seem to be very balanced as far as record goes.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't too many significantly different records, but overall it's definitely going to be not easy. And I had him at my 11 as well. I agree with most of your points. Except for Jolteon. Jolteon's garbage.
You know what you're talking about.
I know what I'm talking about. I know everything I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. Okay. But Typhlosion for Arcanine, I don't agree with it. Unless he was trying to go for more special offense.
Well, here's the thing. Because he didn't drop Arcanine for Typhlosion, he dropped Arcanine for Sharpedo, and then dropped his Hitmontop for the Typhlosion. Because,
well, to be fair, those are just technicalities, though.
Well,
we know what he was like, replacing his fire type with another fire type just due to points. That's how they were replaced.
Yeah, but I don't think the point was I need to. Like, I know he replaced Arcanine with Typhlosion. You're right. I don't agree with that, but it's just like he didn't say I'm going to drop Arcanine because I want Typhlosion. He said I need to drop a UU. I'm going to drop Arcanine for the Sharpedo, and now I need another fire type again, so I'm going to drop the Hitmontop for the Typhlosion. I could have seen him possibly dropping something like Tornadus for the Sharpedo. I could see that being a little bit better, but then that gets rid of some more offense. But take it as you will.
Well, regardless, I feel as though Typhlosion and Sharpedo are both extremely one-dimensional. You know what they're going to do. Typhlosion's probably 9 times out of 10 going to be Scarfed or Specs Eruption.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sharpedo's just going to protect, Speed Boost, Life Orb, maybe Focus Sash, Try and Sweep. Not too complicated.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even though they are, they're rather straightforward, I still think they're really strong offensive pressures to deal with.
They are very strong offensive pressures. Just the fact that they're predictable, and I feel like for what they were traded for, I know what he was trying to do. I get like he needs more offense. Yes, I just don't feel like the way he did it was the best. But I still think he's doing the right thing. His intentions are definitely good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As for his record, 0-4, technically 0-2 since he's only done 2 matches. To be fair, on week 2, I believe there were only 2 0-2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Every other team had gotten at least 1 win. Some were undefeated that week. So he's still in... If you look at it that way, he's still in the bottom. And that's where he's going to stay until he gets some more wins.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Shadow Absols, and for the past weeks I've been saying this for them, I want to see him do well. I never want to see any team go winless, just as I never want to see any team go undefeated. But, we don't have to worry about that problem of a team going undefeated this season, because all the teams have at least 1 loss.
Yes, they do, which is keeping things very interesting.
Yep, and with that, I guess we can move on to number 10. So, he has definitely fallen a lot since the pre-draft power rankings, and I'm sure Some of you watching this are probably happy about this. At number 10, I have the Vespuquin Park Rangers. He is 1-3, and week 4, he lost 5-0. I mean, he had the worst loss this week. And granted, it was against a team that I have ranked very highly, the Washington Red Shells, who are doing very well. But to lose that badly with a team that he has, a team that I think is very good, very great draft, and it's just this season so far, he's not been doing well. He is 10th place in the league currently, at 1-3, and I just didn't see him playing that well. It was a long battle, and I don't think the 5-0 necessarily reflects totally the battle itself, because it was like an 80-something turn battle. Once they were fairly neck and neck for like the first 20, 30 turns, and then the Washington Red Shells took the momentum, killed off the first Mon on the Park Rangers team, and they just followed through to get a big 5-0.
Yeah, I believe I watched that match live, and it was definitely a long one.
Yeah, and that's why, even though it is a 5-0, I don't think it necessarily reflects how good of a battle it was, because you look, 5-0, he probably just got washed out. I don't think that wasn't necessarily it, but I didn't see good planning this week, and I saw playing that kind of made up for his probably lack of planning, because, I mean, you look at his team, he's got Powdon, Hariyama, and Polion Zork. Like, what did he really have for the Mega Aggron? Zork? Kinda. Manaphy? No. So he didn't have really anything for the Mega Aggron, Gliscor, Blisseycore. Blissey, anytime he switched, Blissey put a complete offensive halt to the Park Rangers team. Like what did he have for Blissey? Hariyama. But then he just switches in, Gliscor, and even a Hariyama with an Ice Punch isn't killing Gliscor. So,
yeah, I believe the Hariyama had Rest, Sleep Talk, Facade, and Close Combat, so it couldn't even touch the Gliscor that hard.
Yeah, it was a fully physically defensive Gliscor is easily going to take a Facade from, even a Guts-boosted Facade from Hariyama. Hariyama's strong, and I love Hariyama in this format, don't get me wrong. It's one of the fighting mons I think is actually very good in this format, because it is a very underrated threat, and it can run different sets, has large amounts of coverage, but, Rest, Sleep Talk, okay, that's nice, but what is it honestly going to do against this team? Okay, it'll kill the Hydreigon. Greninja's going to be able to outspeed, pretty much kill it. Gliscor, you can't do anything. Mega Aggron, even Gust-boosted Close Combat, it's going to do a good chunk, but Mega Aggron, base 230 defense, you're not breaking through that easy.
Plus with Filter.
And Filter, yeah, so it's not even... So I just... He was one of the teams I thought was going to do very well, and he's 1-3. So all the other teams that are ahead of him have just been playing better and planning better, and so he has to be my number 10.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. He's also my number 10. I agree with basically every point you just made. I don't think there's anything I really disagree with. And one thing that I can't stress enough is the fact how little wall-breaking potential he had when he was going up against an opponent who, throughout the weeks, has been bringing very defensive teams.
Mm-hmm.
And against a team like the Vespuquin Park Rangers, I can definitely see a very defensive team working out well when you have things such as Blissey, which can actually stop a Manaphy sweep, when you have things such as Gliscor, who can actually stop an Excadrill sweep. He just had the things that could defensively wall his team, and that definitely was the smart route to take that week, so I don't know why the Vespuquin Park Rangers didn't bring a more wall-breaking style team.
Yeah, considering the Washington Red Shells have been bringing very wally teams. Not necessarily stall, but just very bulky teams all the weeks. And
yes, I believe last week, not last week, but the week before, I believe it was, where the Washington Red Shells were versing the Washington Red Shells versus the Iowa Focus Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Every Mon except for one was defensive in some way.
Yeah, it was the Starmie was the only thing not really terribly defensive.
No, Starmie was defensive.
Starmie was defensive.
Thing was Victini.
Oh my god. So yeah,
he had a defensive Starmie with a Cold Berry.
Oh my god. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know. It's a lack of planning. And what I was going to add was he didn't drop or pick up anything, so he's still going with the team he has.
Yeah, I definitely think there is some room for improvement on his team, which I definitely think he should go for at the next trading sequence, because I definitely feel like he needs a more powerful wall breaker.
Yeah, especially considering stuff like Arcanine's now up for grabs again. I could see him making decent use out of that.
Yeah, Arcanine could work.
Entei.
Entei could work.
Those are
two very powerful wall-breaking fire types. Choice band.
Yeah, those are both good options. I'm still surprised something like Honchkrow hasn't been drafted.
Honchkrow is an amazing wall breaker. Was Toxicroak drafted?
Toxicroak was neither drafted either.
Toxicroak is an amazing wall breaker. He does have the Hariyama, so
yeah, and Porygon Z was also
that would be a better choice.
Porygon Z was also dropped, which is and it doesn't seem like it, but Choice Specs, that's an extremely powerful wall breaker with adaptability
tri-attack,
which hits absolutely like a truck. So yeah, I could see him definitely trying to get some more wall breaking power. His only decent one is Volcarona at this point, and Manaphy.
Yeah, but even Manaphy, it's not really going to work too well unless it sets up, and we saw it against the Blissey this week.
Well, that's what also the Volcarona. They both need to set up. So he doesn't just have something that you're just going to send in, besides the Excadrill in the sand, which I guess he could try to run like Sand Force Excadrill as a wall breaker, but that's really hard to pull off.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I didn't see his setup mons, how reliant they were on setup, being that big of an effect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely showing how much he relies on setup.
Yeah, and I mean, Manaphy doesn't always need to rely on setup, but if it's not relying on setup, that means it's more of a defensive set usually.
Yeah.
And I still think his team, when he was drafting, I think is still well constructed. He has a lot of threats: Manaphy, Excadrill, I think Hariyama, Electros. He's got a lot of threats, but he just hasn't been putting really any of them to great effect this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think he can do well, and it's definitely possible for him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I'm just not saying it.
Yeah, he just like the other two teams below him, they're just going to have to make some sort of just straight win streak throughout the rest of the season to make a huge comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, that's going to be hard because the other teams are really strong so far, and I don't think they're going to let them.
Yeah, no one's really giving in at this point.
No, because the records are still very close.
Yeah, I believe we've got 4 or 5 3-1 teams.
Yeah, so, but that's all I've got to say about the Vespiquen Park Rangers. So I guess we can move on.
I don't have much either.
Yeah. So moving on, I have the Middle Earth Magmortars at number 9. They lost to the Atlanta Braviary this week. They're now 2-2. I don't think they played bad. But I think their planning was a little bit lackluster this week. And the Atlanta Braviary definitely, I think, planned well for his team. He brought, I think, just regular Scizor, Choice Banded, which I think was a great choice, because it OHKOs a Kyurem Black after Stealth Rocks, it OHKOs a Mega Gardevoir, it does huge damage to Atlanta Tornado Styrian, all with Bullet Punch, huge damage to Breloom with Bullet Punch, huge damage to Nidoking with Bullet Punch, huge damage to Crocodile. And it only got one kill, but I think that was it was good planning on his part to just bring regular Scizor with, I think, the Choice Band. Virizion actually put in a bit of work, and same with Mew. But the Middle Earth Magmortar, I was looking at the team, and I see what they wanted to do, but I think also this week, again, Rock's kind of hurting them, because it wears down the Kyurem Black, it wears down almost everything on his team except for the Tornado Styrian. And so he's just been having a huge problem dealing with that. So I have him still at 9 because, he did lose, and I still think it's going to be hard for him to come back from that and deal with hazards. He did pick up this week, if I look, he did pick up the Claydol and the Dewblade, and he dropped Drapion and Lantern. Claydol is now his spinner, his only spinner, and I don't like Claydol as a spinner. I mean, it's one of the better spinners in NU, but it's just such a bad Pokemon in general. Like, it's not good. And to use that as your spinner, that I feel like that's just basically you have 5 Mons and then a spinner. Like, that's all it's going to be able to do. I don't think it's going to... Yeah, it can set up screens, it can do other things, but that's pretty much it. It's going to spin. And then it's going to go down. Those are the 2 things it does. And it does...
I mean, it gets some stupid moves. It can run Power Solar Beam.
Yeah,
you don't know that he's...
Yeah, but with base...
This might be real.
Base 70 special... I think it's base 70 special attack. It's not good.
Like Gastrodon's going to be appreciating that. Or Quagsire.
Yeah, okay, so in very specific... Yeah, and I know you can plan for those very specific things and run, like, Power Orb Solar Beam for, like, a Gastrodon or a Quagsire, but it's just... I don't see Claydol being able to be brought most weeks. Because I think it's something very easy to plan for. You just have to hit it, like, twice and it dies. So I didn't agree with that. I think granted, there wasn't much to pick up in terms of spinners at this point.
He could have picked up Torkoal.
Yeah, I know you said that before we started recording, but he's got Infernape. He doesn't need Torkoal. Sorry.
But Torkoal's an obviously superior fire type.
Yeah, okay.
It can set up a Shell Smash and sweep teams.
It's got like base 30 speed. It's
okay,
not...
but if you double that, then Power Herb activates. You force a switch. You
White Herb.
Shell Smash. White Herb gets your defenses back to normal. You can take any one hit, set up another Shell Smash, sweep. That's the plan.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, so he has the Claydol. He did pick up the Dewblade, dropping the Drapion for it, and I do agree with that. I do definitely agree with that switch. Dewblade is extremely good in this format. It's very hard to take down. He doesn't have a knockoff weakness anyway. He needed some more defense, and I think Dewblade was a very good pickup instead of Drapion. Will it work well? Will he be able to put it to great effect? I think he should be able to. It's not weak to any of the hazards, which is nice. Sticky Webs actually helps it out, which is also nice. So I see him being able to use the Dewblade. I don't see him being able to use the Claydol. So I still have it number 9. He's 2-2, but I can't put him above the other 2 teams because I see in future weeks Hazard still being a huge problem for him, and he's not going to be able to handle it well, not even with the Claydol.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I also have my number 9. I agree with a lot of the things you said. I'm not going to bash him too hard for freaking Claydol, mainly due to the fact that there were definitely not many better options, if any, that I can think of at least.
Yeah, like, that's what I said. Like, I see why he picked up the Claydol. He needed a spinner, and there's not much left, but it's still just a bad spinner. Like, it's not good to use.
Yes, but at the same time, at least the fact that he has a spinner means that now people aren't going to try and force Stealth Rocks on their team too, just because he doesn't have an answer for it. Because, like, someone has no reason not to bring Stealth Rocks if he doesn't have a spinner.
Yeah,
But now that he has one, if someone's planning and they realize at the end of their planning they don't have Stealth Rocks, they're not going to, like, try and fit it on their team, like, quite as hard, because now he has actually an answer to get rid of it.
Yeah, I guess. I still see people just saying, I'm going to slap a Stealth Rocker on my team because it's going to hurt him bad. So I still see that being a problem. Maybe I am being a little bit too critical of the Claydol, but I don't like it. So,
I mean, I get why you don't like it. It's not a good thing. Like, its defensive typing isn't all that. Its HP stat is low.
Yeah.
It's not really all that, but it does the thing that he really needed.
Yeah, I guess we're just going to really have to see how he uses it in the future weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If he uses it well in the upcoming weeks, then I will totally reverse my opinion because I am wrong a lot, and I'm open to being wrong. So,
well, as far as the Doublade, I think that was a great choice. Drapion really wasn't doing much for his team.
mm-hmm.
He already had the Nidoking, who I think is a better poison stab user, and the Crocodile, which I think is a better stab knockoff user.
And, yeah, definitely. I think
so.
Just...
Its typing and its stabs really aren't adding too much to the team.
Mm.
And as far as his planning goes, I definitely think, like, over the past few weeks, he's definitely been bringing some interesting things. Like, he's definitely been kind of trying to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like he's been really putting that to good use, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
he's thinking outside the box, but he's thinking like in the wrong portions of outside the box.
Yeah, I guess I know what you're saying. He's trying to be innovative with his sets, but at some point it's going a little bit too far, and it becomes almost unviable. And I guess like the best analogy is if anyone knows Gearhart, who's in the D League now, he does the same thing. His sets are so out there that they never work. Like, it's like in other leagues I saw him try to do like physically defensive tank Staraptor, and I'm like, that just doesn't work. And you're putting things in places that they shouldn't be. Even in a league where you can plan and try to do some interesting things, I don't want to see that be a problem where he's trying to be innovative. And I like to see, it makes the battles very interesting, seeing very innovative sets. But at the same time, if they become a little bit too innovative and then become unviable in the match itself, just being for like literally one specific thing, it can hurt him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall, I just feel like he can definitely come back
mm-hmm.
if he can just focus a bit more on team building and like understanding his opponent's team and trying to get in his opponent's head a bit more.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to see him do well, especially considering he probably has the best team name, Middle-earth Magmortar.
And I think he's a very good battler as well. He's a very good battler as well. So
he's been doing well. It's just his planning, I feel like, is what's hurting him.
Yeah, it's hard to come back in a match if you didn't counter team properly, where your opponent has counter team properly. So, yeah, I can see him coming back. I see the other teams, other teams ahead of him, I see him having a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
So, at number 8, I have the Atlanta Braviary. They won this week against the Middle-earth Mortars, and I honestly don't really have too much to say about him. He's kind of hit or miss with me week to week. Like this week I saw he planned well, and I had no complaints about his playing. But then, like last week, I didn't see, nearly the... last week I think he lost the focus energy, and I saw really poor playing and planning. And then the week before that, it's like, he loses the Chelsea Shandies, and it's like I saw the same thing. And then week 1, he plays really well, and he plans well. So for me, I don't know. For him, consistency is the biggest problem. I don't know how consistent he's going to be able to be in this season. If he's gonna plan and play well some weeks and then plan and play well poorly other weeks. So I have him at number 8. He did move up one spot over the person he just beat, but I can't move him up any higher until I see that he's actually going to consistently play well and then plan properly for his opponents. And he's only 2-2. A lot of the teams ahead of him are 3-1, so it's not like he's far behind. He's only one win behind. But I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to see. It's hard for me to see him do consistently well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I definitely get where you're coming from, and I agree with a lot of the things you said. One thing that I want to note really quick is I don't believe he made any changes in free agency.
No.
Okay, he didn't make any changes. So his team, I honestly don't see too many things I would change. I'm not really a fan of the Verizon, but like I kind of know why he has it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's mostly for typing.
Yeah, it's mostly for typing, and it's just I don't know. It's just Verizon. It just looks stupid, and it just doesn't seem good.
I mean, he got 2 kills this week, so it's not bad.
He's doing pretty good with it. He ran his team building that past me this week, and I definitely think it was pretty good. I thought everything made a lot of sense. That choice banded Scizor, I'm pretty sure it has like a chance to OHKO Kieran Black.
Yeah.
With choice band, while the Mega did not, and I think that's the main reason he decided to go with it, which is definitely a good choice since that Kieran Black, huge threat.
Mm-hmm.
And his team building overall, it seemed pretty good. It's just mainly his playing where I've been seeing the problems week to week. He seems to be a pretty consistent planner, but not a consistent player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. He sometimes he'll make good plays, and then he likes to play more conservatively, and doesn't make the good predictions when he needs to.
I don't think playing conservatively is necessarily a bad thing. In my opinion, I think the best way to battle is to not make predictions unless you're put in a situation where you really need to, or else it's going to cost you greatly. Like letting him get the biggest threat to your team in for free. Like, you don't want to let your opponent do something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're down like 3-5, you're definitely going to need to do something to try and swing momentum back in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, in my opinion, like one of the best ways to play.
I see, like, the problem is he just, like, when he switches out defensively, he makes a lot of times the very obvious switch out defensively. You know what I mean? So it's like, he doesn't make the I understand there's no good point in over-predicting, because that you're going to more likely get yourself in a bad spot by over-predicting than under-predicting. But at the same time, he makes a lot of times he makes very obvious plays, and that hurts him a lot. Yeah,
it definitely hurts him in a lot of situations. I think he can definitely improve on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see him going higher, but he just has to play a bit more consistently.
Yeah, I mean, at least if he plans well every week, it kind of eases up on how well he has to play. You know what I mean? Like, a lot, like, I would say is like 40% planning, 60% battling is how this goes. And
I honestly think that it's a bit more planning's favor than battling's favor. Unless, like, someone plays crazy good or crazy bad.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, as long as you plan well, it kind of eases up on the whole how well you have to play. But the thing is, if both people plan equally well, you have to play better. And this week, I think he had the better team, which allowed him to ease up on the actual playing, and he could kind of play safer because he knew his opponent couldn't do too much to his team.
Yeah. But I don't believe I have much else to say about him. I think he's been doing pretty good, and I definitely think he can move up. But we're just going to have to see in future weeks.
Yep. Up next, I have the Chelsea Shandies at number 7. And Chelsea Shandies, I don't have much to say. They have they won 1-0 against the Detroit Pistons. They played very well. Porygon Z picking up 3 kills, doing very well. And Azel picking up another 2. So I see the Chelsea Shandies. Again, they're another hit or miss team for me. And this week, they planned well and they played well. So I didn't see any problem with that. It's just like the Atlanta Braviary. It's going to be a consistency problem. And so I have him at 7, just on the threshold of being on the top 6, because his team is still, I think, crazy good. And he participated in free agency. He dropped the Porygon C, and the Thunders picked up the Snorlax and the Gengar, which I don't see too much of a problem with those pickups and drops. Thunders for Gengar, I can see why he needed he needed Poison Stab for Fairies, and Poison type for Resist, and Snorlax is just annoying as hell to deal with because it can be such a problem if a team is not sufficiently prepared for it. So overall, I don't think it really changed how threatening his team is. I think it's just as threatening. And this team, I really don't have terribly much to say for. I think he just played better than the Detroit Pincers this week. I think his planning worked very well, and it was still a very close match. It was only a 1-0, but Chelsea Shandy's able to pull out a big win, and they moved up 3 spots from number 10. And if they keep winning like this, I can see them continue to move up.
I agree with you. He's also my number 7. As you can tell, this bottom 6 is exactly the same for both of us, and that's just because I guess we just agree on a lot of things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully that'll change pretty soon. But anyways, as for Porygon Z to Snorlax, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings about it. Like I feel like Porygon Z might have been a bit better because I feel like his team kind of needs that extra. I mean, it kind of needs the speed because like he's got like a lot of really slow things and a lot of really fast things. Like he's got Gengar, he's got Azel, he's got Keldeo, but then he's got Slowking, Tangrowth, Snorlax, Bronzong, Tyrantrum, Quagsire, all those slow things.
Yeah, I mean, you don't.
He doesn't have anything in that like mid-range of speed.
Yeah, I don't see that as too much of a problem. Like the middling speed category. I mean, do you really need one in that kind of speed category?
I usually think Pokemon with the mid-range speed usually make the best wall breakers because you can put all your EVs, like the majority of your EVs, into attack and HP so that you can actually take hits and you'll naturally outspeed most walls.
Yeah, but he does have like really powerful things. Mega Charizard X, I mean, that after one D-Dance, if you're going to say something about a sweeper, there it is. And yeah, he doesn't have like actual wall breakers on his team, but I don't see that as much of a problem for him when he does have extremely powerful sweepers like Mega Charizard X, who, if he can set up once, is going to be extremely hard to stop.
Yeah, as I said, I have some mixed feelings about it. It does give him opportunity to be like a Curse-Lax or a Assault-Vest user. It's a lot bulkier, which, I mean, I don't really think he needed much more bulk, but, it's there if he wants to.
Yeah.
And as far as Gengar for Thundurus, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I don't think it really took much away or added too much to his team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I don't like is he needs to pick up an electric type. He does not have one anymore.
I don't think an electric type is necessary.
I think
Gengar does get Thunderbolt. Azelf, I'm pretty sure, gets Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
he has options for electric coverage.
I just think in a format where bulky waters are very important, I think fast electric types are also as important just to take them down. Anyways, like Tangrowth, but that's just my feeling on that.
I personally don't see bulky waters being too much of a problem for him. The only things that really hate to deal with them are Keldeo and Mega Charizard X, but he has methods of getting around them.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't, but that's just my opinion
overall,
on it.
His playing and planning have been pretty good, varying between weeks.
Yeah.
But this week he did beat a team that we've both been considering a very good team, the Detroit Pincers. Even if it was only a 1-0, he still beat them.
Yeah.
And I don't recall any hacks, if there were any.
I think it was a relatively hacksless match.
Yeah. So it's not like he didn't deserve to win here in the win.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see him doing well, but the thing is I can also see him doing bad, which is why he's at 7.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the top 6 now. So at number 6, I have the Sequin Malamar. They did not change from last week. They won against the Manhattan Electrics. It was a 3-0 win. It was a really decisive win in his favor. He just... at the end, the Jolteon got 3 kills. And I think that was just him trying to play safe around the Jolteon so he didn't kind of choke the win away. He's just... the Jolteon got a crit Thunderbolt in the Rotom Wash, which killed it. think the Rotom would have lived and been able to at least damage it greatly and maybe made it like a 4-0. But he sacked off the Rotom Wash, then he sacked off the Jirachi to deal more damage to Jolteon, and then just Mach Punch with the Conch Elder to kill it off. So he was playing a little safe at the end, but he had the match entirely by like the 15th turn anyway. He's at 6-3, and he's just been playing really well. I didn't move him up just because the Manectrics are a team that I don't have too highly up, and I don't know how well they're going to do. And I saw the Sequin Malamar winning anyway. So other teams, I think, did better than he did. And he's still at number 6, which, don't get me wrong, I don't really see him moving down. He is 3-1. He's been playing very well, surprisingly so. And then he also made a change to his team, which I 210% agree with. He dropped the Smeargle, which was a terrible pick to begin with, and he picked up the Dragalge, I think. Picked up Dragalge.
Didn't he have Dragalge before?
I don't think... No, he picked up... Did he pick up Porygon 2? He picked up Porygon 2.
No, wait. Hold on a second. Let me look at his team. I think he picked up the Porygon 2.
Okay, yeah, he picked up the Porygon 2. I forget. So, my mistake. I'm wrong often. He picked up the Porygon 2, which much better pick. 110% better pick. Smeargle, terrible option in this format, just because of it's slow and can be taunted. And once it's taunted, it's done.
Smeargle is actually trash garbage.
So, the Porygon 2, great pickup. So his team's getting even more threatening. I didn't like it before, and I'm starting to like it now. I see how he uses it. It's not a team I would like to use, just because I've tried using Trick Room in the past, and his team is pretty slow. It can make use of Trick Room. I'm not very good with it. I'm not a big fan of Mega Pidgeot, but he's been using his team great, and he's 3-1. You can't complain about that. The teams ahead of him, I like their team. I think their teams are better. I think they've been planning just as well and playing just as well. And I don't know, his win was decisive, but I didn't see it as like a match that if he won was going to be some huge win for him. But that loss would have been, I think, pretty big loss for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, and I get it. But moving on to my number 6, I had the Iowa Focus Energy. Now, in their match, they won 2-0 against another team that we didn't hold too highly, the DMR Shadow Absols. So it's not like I believe I left him in the same spot. I believe I had him at 6 last week. He might have been at 5. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But,
I don't know what you had him at week 2.
What?
I said I don't remember what you had him at week 2.
I meant week 3. Sorry. But yeah. I feel like he's been doing good. I think he's been getting a bit more a hang on using his EVs correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen definitely some improvement in speed creeping from what I saw from his team builder. And one thing I'm very proud of is Mega Abomasnow actually doing something and getting a kill. Because, I mean, Mega Abomasnow is terrible in this format, but yeah, I like him. And it's nice to see him actually do something.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, he dropped the Mega Abomasnow and picked up the Mega Audino, which, I mean, Mega Audino, it gives him a Cleric. It gives him a good bulky fairy type. He had the Azumarill, but Azumarill, it gets bulky, but it doesn't have recovery. It's not meant for a defensive role.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to Mega Evolve either, so he can always just keep the Regenerator until he wants to get rid of it.
Yes, I definitely think Mega Audino, it's definitely not an amazing Pokemon, but especially for a Mega, but it definitely is better for his team than the Mega Abomasnow, when he already had Mega Fortress. And what did he drop for the Torterra again?
The Torterra, he dropped the Sock.
The Sock, okay. I don't agree, well, I kind of agree with it. I definitely think him dropping Sock wasn't that bad of an idea. because he had the Cobalion,
Mm-hmm.
who does a kind of similar thing. But for Torterra, I mean, I guess I see what he wanted. It looks like he wanted another defensive mon. But that gives him that it's a slow mon. It has a 4 times weakness to ice. It just doesn't seem all that good. And it's just definitely a very odd Pokemon. I'd like to see how it does. It definitely can do some good things. But if people start slapping HP Ice on everything, it's not going to last. And since it's a defensive mon, that's its job, I just don't see it doing well.
Yeah, I guess I can start talking to him because he's at my number 5. I have the Iowa Focus Energy. Yeah, I agree pretty much with all of that. He's planning better. He did actually move down 1 spot just because I thought there was another team that was below him previously, just completely, I think did amazingly this week, so I moved him up. But I have him at number 5. The consistency problem I don't really see anymore. He's just been using his team really well. Cobalion picked up 3 kills this week. All right, Cobalion's not a mon you normally see get a lot of kills, but he's been able to get 3 kills with that thing. And yeah, Cobalion I think is a very good option in this format. It's not terribly offensive. It's only 90s in its attack and special attack, but it's not bad. Plus, it's very bulky, and it's got a lot of options you can do to it. And, yeah, Mega Bomb is still getting a kill. But again, the reason I didn't move him up, in fact, I moved him down 1 spot, and this was another team that we expected him to win against. The DMR and Shadow Absols haven't been doing well. The Iowa Focus Energy have been doing well, and this to me was not a decisive win. Well, it was a decisive win, but not like a big win for him this week. If he lost this week, that would have been a big loss for him, and he probably would have moved down. But, for me, I expected him to win anyway, and he did win. I'm not going to move him up because he won against the DMR Shadow Absols. It wasn't they're not a, I hate to say this they're not a huge threat as a team right now. So it's not like their win was that huge. So they're my number 5. I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah, one thing that I forgot to point out, which I thought was really weird, is half of the DMR Shadow Absol's team completely and utterly destroys Jellicent. Jellicent still somehow got 2 kills.
Mega Absol, Bisharp, Galvantula. Yeah.
All destroy it.
I don't know.
And even Latias and Slurpuff can moderately deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, Latias gets Shadow Ball.
Yeah, so it's not like it's just weird how well that did, considering how bad of a matchup it looks like on paper.
But there's I have no real complaints about the Iowa Focus Energy, but they're just going to stay at number 5, and if they keep playing, like, top 6 is not, I don't think, like, any spots that you should complain about. That means, like, that's who we think you're going to be currently who we think are going to be the playoffs, and I think they have a great shot at it. They are 3-1, so they're doing very well.
Even though those spots are changing up every single week, basically, it's still all like the best place to be. Even though 6 and 5 like really are like the lower portions of it, it's still not a spot to complain about.
Yeah.
But anyway, my number 5, I had the Detroit Pincers. They are 2-2. They lost to the Chelsea Shandies this week. It wasn't a huge loss because I don't think there's a single person who would disagree when we say the Chelsea Shandies have an amazing draft. And their performance hasn't been terrible. Like, it's been a little inconsistent, but it's not, I wouldn't consider it bad. So it's not like a very heavy loss. And he's 2-2. This loss, it was obviously a very narrow loss. He almost won. It was only a 1-0. And his loss last week was mainly just due to team matchup, in my opinion. He didn't have anything for Alligator or the Hoopa Unbound.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, he was at a disadvantage before he even started planning. So I don't really bash him too hard for that. for losing the past 2 weeks. I definitely can see him doing well in the future because, like, even though he's been losing the past 2 weeks, it's not anything that I consider a huge bad loss. And I definitely see him moving back on up. He's been making good use of his Mega Ampharos, which I think is interesting because, like, I didn't think Mega Ampharos was all that good at the beginning. And what team changes did he make, if any?
He dropped both Entei and Flygon, and he picked up Haxorus and Hitmonlee.
Yeah. The Entei to Haxorus, I don't disagree with too much. It got rid of one of his ground weaknesses. Since he already had the Fire type Etran, I don't really think he needed Entei too much, and he dropped a physical wall breaker for another physical wall breaker. So I don't think it was like that bad of a trade. And Haxorus also has setup potential, so I don't think it was a bad trade at all. But he traded a pretty bad defogger for a really bad rapid spinner, which I just thought it's really weird because Hitmonlee isn't even. I don't think it's a good rapid spinner at all. It can't take a hit is the thing, so I just don't see it doing well. I really don't think that was a good choice. Plus, he already had another fighting type in Chestnut. I definitely think there were better options, or even keeping Flygon. I mean, he got the Haxorus, but I definitely think there must have been a better option, especially considering. No, he had to keep an RU. Never mind, but I definitely think he could do a bit better with that, and hopefully he'll clean that up in the next trade window.
Yeah, I guess we can move on to number 4, because at my number 4 I have the Detroit Pincers. Yeah, this loss, it was only a 1-0 loss for him, and I still see him being one of the biggest threats this season. And he's starting to clean up a little bit of the problems he had with his team, which was speed. He had none. And last week that was a huge problem because his opponent had both Feraligatr and Hoopa Unbound. And Hoopa Unbound runs straight through a defensive team. So last week, he had a horrible matchup. This week, it wasn't as bad of a matchup, but the Chelsea Shandies were able to plan well and pull out the win against the Detroit Pincers. But I think they're going to be able to use the Haxorus better than they were using the Entei. And the thing with Hitmonlee, yeah, it's not a good rapid spinner, but it also gives him some more offensive options. Because, yeah, Chestnut is a fighting type, but he's mostly going to be using that for defense. And Hitmonlee, really good late game sweeper. Unburden, high jump kick, it's just... Or even Choice Scarf Reckless high jump kick, that does a lot of damage too. So I can see him using those things well. As far as the hazard removal goes, I'm a little bit more worried now. I'm worried about the hazard removal. He doesn't have a team that's terribly weak to hazards. He's looking at his team. I mean, what does he have really that doesn't like Stealth Rocks?
Not much.
Nothing. He doesn't have anything weak to Stealth Rocks. Spikes, no Pokemon takes those well unless they're Levitators or flying types. And he only has one Levitator, so he only has one thing that actually likes to switch in on Spikes, which is the Weezing. And then you look at Toxic Spikes, and he does have... His only way to get rid of them would either be the Hitmonlee or Poison type, and his only Poison type is floating in the air. Can't even get rid of Poison, Toxic Spikes. So... hazards for him, I'm a little bit worried. People are going to start bringing, like, hey, I bring up Stealth Rocks, basically up for free. Especially if they see Hitmonlee not coming, they have a free setup of Stealth Rocks. No problem. Is that going to be a problem week to week? Maybe. Is it not going to be a problem? Maybe. But besides that, I still see him being a huge threat because he's been using his team very well. It's a team that he likes to play with. He knows how to use. So he's still at number 4, and if he pulls through with another win next week, he's going to solidify his position in the top 6. But at this point, I'm a little bit shaky, but at the same point, I think he's still going to do well.
Now, as for my number 4, the Berkhamsted Bastions. I have them at number 4 because I have a lot of mixed feelings about the Berkhamsted Bastiodons. Some weeks they do amazing. Other weeks I feel like they're a little shaky, even though I believe they're 3-1, correct?
Yeah, they're 3-1.
Yeah. Even though they win some weeks, I definitely think they're a bit shaky. This week, though, specifically, they won against the Toronto Tyrantrums, a team that we've had at number 1 for the past, I believe, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely very impressive to take down the titan of the league, I guess you would call it, even though he was not too far out from everyone else. But impressive nonetheless. The past 2 weeks he's brought the Feraligatr and Hoop Unbound, which I am very happy that he's done, since those are honestly 2 of the biggest threats on his team, and he hasn't been bringing them all too much. At least not the first 2 weeks. But it's nice to see them coming.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's getting a bit more comfortable with his team and adjusting. But as far as his team changes go, I think this was definitely a huge improvement. He picked up Kyurem and Alomomola.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like Alomomola. I hate Alomomola as a Pokemon, but for his team, I think it adds another defensive mon that's pretty reliable. Like, Alomomola is not going down without a fight. Unless you have, like, a Choice Specs Raikou or Jolteon or something like that. And then Kyurem, I've had experience with Kyurem. It does not have a single bad stat. It can take hits, it can outspeed a lot of things, it can hit extremely hard on both sides, physical and special. And it's overall just a really good Pokemon, and I don't believe he has Ice Stab. No Ice Stab on his team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely very nice. And no, he has Stab Draco Meteor now and Outrage, which are both very nice. And he has, I believe he's utilized his points a lot better now too, which is very nice to see. Since his points before were, he still had a lot left over, which is just kind of shows a lack of team preparing, like draft preparing.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel like he's utilized the free agency to the best of his abilities, which is why I have him at number 4. I don't put him at a higher position due to the fact that I feel like there's definitely a chance of him falling behind. At the same time, I can definitely see him staying up here.
Yeah, so moving on to number 3, I had the Berkhamsted Bastions at number 3. They utilized the free agency very well. Yep, they used up some of those. He had like 60 points left over. He used up 40 of them. He's now got one of the most annoying bulky waters to take down, Alomola. I'm not a fan of Aloe, just because it's too passive it's too passive for me. I don't like walls that are that passive. But if you can use it, then, go for it. And Kyurem, I think, is definitely a good pickup. It's an underrated threat. It's not that great in standard because of its weaknesses and the fact that it is actually, it's weak to rocks and all those different things. But in this kind of format, I think people might overlook it and see things like the Feraligatr, the Hoopa Unbound, the Mega Gallade, the Terrakion, the Zapdos. Look at those and then just kind of not care about the Kyurem as much. And I think that's going to hurt other teams because Kyurem, definitely a hard thing to take down if you're not properly prepared for it. As far as his playing is concerned, his only shaky week was week 2 when he lost to Sequin Malamar, and that was only a 2-0. Every other week, he won 2-0 the first week. He won 3-0 last week against who I had at number 1 in week 2, and then he won 1-0 against the team I had number 1 last week. He's just taking down all the top teams, and he's doing it pretty well. I mean, Feraligatr getting 3 kills this week, Hoop Unbound only getting 1, but he's bringing his offensive threats, which are just putting huge pressure on his opponents, and it's very hard to cope with Hoop Unbound by itself. But then Feraligatr, Hoop Unbound couldn't put as much work this week as it did last week, just because Tyrantrums have a much faster team. He's got Mega Diancie, he's got Landorus, he's got things that are fast as Staraptor that can easily... Landorus and Staraptor can take down Hoop Unbound in one shot with a U-turn. So Huban not being able to do as much work, but for Alligator, getting 3 kills, very nice. For Alligator, huge threat, and I think, like, for Alligator is one of those things, it's that kind of one-dimensional thing. It does, you know what it does? It sets up and sweeps. And even though you can plan for it as much as you want to, it's still going to be a problem. So I see him just doing well in these future weeks, and that's why I'm a number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with a lot of things. Just Burst of Bastiodon's definitely proving to be a big threat. But as for my number 3, I have the Supreme Malamar. First of all, just because I really want to talk about it, is the Smeargle to Porygon 2 switch, which you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Amazing switch. Smeargle, so bad. Such a bad Pokemon. Like so bad. I don't know why it was counted as a BL. It's just, it is so trash in regular play, and even worse in this format. And overall, I just think that amazing switch gave him a better defensive mon to use, and it's just really good. I like it. And back in week 2, I believe I placed him at 7, and I said that I definitely could see him being a huge threat in the future, and I just wanted to see him prove himself throughout the weeks, and I definitely think that over the past 2 weeks he has done so. And I definitely think that is worthy of the top 3 position.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just overall been planning well, he's been playing well the past 3 weeks, and even week 1, if it weren't for an unfortunate crit, he probably would have won and would have been in the only undefeated team at the moment. So, it's just, I definitely think he deserves a number 3 spot, and I don't think I could see myself putting him any lower unless he starts going on a losing streak.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. For me, he was just number 6. I didn't see much of a reason to move him up from last week to this week. But if he keeps doing as well as he's doing now, you can guarantee he's moving up. So, number 2, I have the Washington Red Shells. What's for these next 2, there's not really too much to say about them. Washington Red Shells got a 5-0 victory over the Vespucci Park Rangers. He's doing what he needs to week. He's planning very well, and he's using his team, which is really bulky, but bulky in a good way. You know, it's not just straight bulk with no offensive pressure. He's got things that can hit back, except for Blissey. But he also was using Blissey well. Granted, he won against the Vespucci Park Rangers, and they didn't plan as well. They didn't really have much for the Blissey. And his core, Mega Aggron, Blissey, Gliscor, just... It was definitely not going to be easy to take down. My only problem, I would say, this week is he's really lucky that Hariyama didn't do anything, really. Because you look at his team, Mega Aggron, Blissey, Greninja, Hydreigon are all weak to fighting. And Greninja can switch typing, so that's not as big of a problem. But, and I know I said before, I was talking about the Vespucci Park Rangers, the Hariyama choice, Guts, close combat, is not going to do a ton to the Mega Aggron. It's still not going to appreciate it with no reliable recovery. That's always the problem with it. It doesn't have any reliable recovery. So he brings things that are weak to fight, more than half his team is weak to fighting, and he's going against a team with a really good fighting type. So that he's like, I don't know how that's going to do. But then he just gets a 5-0. So I'm like, okay, my worries were wrong. I was wrong to have him. And he's just, I just don't have any complaints. He's doing what he needs to do. He's planning very well, and his playing is, this week, really well. I don't know. There's really not much to say about that. And I don't think he might have switched out something on his team. That's right. He switched out the Greninja, and he picked up Thunder's Therian. I have a little bit to say about this, and I think Mon for Mon, Greninja's obviously better. I think Thunder's Therian is not as good. I'm glad he picked up an electric type, and as a team, I think it's a good pickup for him because he wasn't going to get much use out of the Greninja anyway. He even said it himself. He doesn't like Greninja. he was going to get rid of it as soon as he can, and he did, and he picked up a fast electric type. And I've been using Thunderous Therian myself, and I think it is fantastic. I think it's going to work much better on his team than the Greninja did. I know, like, Greninja, it's fantastic, and it is, but just if he wasn't going to get use out of it anyway, he might as well just drop it and pick up something that he is going to get use out of, and that being the Thunderous Therian. So, that's what I got to say about that.
Yes, he was my number 2 as well. And as far as what you said on the Greninja for Thunderous Therian, I definitely agree 100%. Like, Greninja as a whole is better, but as far as his team goes, I feel like Thunderous definitely adds more to it. Because Starmie gets a lot of the same coverage as Greninja, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really add much to his team. And one thing that I've been finding very interesting about the Washington Red Shells throughout the weeks is that their team, like, when you look at it, you see, like, a lot of defensive mons, but you also see a lot of really hard-hitting offensive ones. But he's been consistently leaning towards the more defensive route, even though I see, like, a lot of offensive potential on his team, which I find very interesting. I guess it's just his play style. But I'd like to see him branch out into a more offensive playstyle, but I see why he's doing it, and I definitely think he's been doing it well. So, I mean, if he keeps winning, I can't bash him for it, but it's just, I'd like to see a bit more offense from him. Since seeing the same defensive teams week to week can get a little stale, but, you know, if it works, it works. Can't bash him for it. But, overall, I think he's been performing very well, and I can't really see him falling too far behind, if at all. Yeah. I don't see him leaving the top 6 anytime soon.
He's been doing very well, and I'm looking to see how well Thunderous Therian does. I know I've used not Thunderous Incarnate because I can't get that thing to work for me. Thunderous Therian, though, I have been able to use, and used to good effect, and I'm looking forward to how it does.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting.
All right, and so moving on to number 1, we both have the same one, and we've been rambling on for a while. This is actually a pretty damn long power rankings at this point, but so we're going to make this kind of quick. We have the Toronto Tyrantrons at number 1. They did lose this week against the Berkhamsted Bastiodons. It was only a 1-0 against a team that has a scary offense. He brought a pretty good team. I think what died to Life Orb? I don't remember what died to Life Orb on the Berkhamsted Bastiodons team, but something did. It might have been the Heliolisk, I want to say. I can't remember. But anyway, it was only 1-0. He is 3-1. He has like one of the highest differentials still. And he's just been playing and planning extremely well. And this week I think it was a little bit shaky, but he's still the team that I think is going to be able to just carry momentum through the whole entire season. I don't see any reason to move him down, even with the loss. He's still 3-1. He's still doing very well. And, you know, it's an unfortunate loss, but he is currently, if we just look at straight record, he is tied with the Toronto Berkhamsted Bastiodons. They're both 3-1, and you know, we'll see how he does in the coming weeks. I think he's going to stay at the top of his division and continue to win through. He does have a very tough division. He and the Washington Red Shells are in the same division, so it's going to be very interesting. But I think he's just going to be able to carry through and keep winning. And I don't think he might have made a few changes. He did.
He has Swampert and Vileplume, which I don't believe he had before.
Yeah, and he dropped Shiftry and Escavalier. Those are good switches. Yeah. Like, that's actually, like, those are two switches I really agree with. I think those were great switches. Shiftry, I'm not a big fan of in this kind of format. It was a defogger, which he already had Blastoise, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But I'm not a big fan of Shiftry. And Escavalier, I think is good. I think Escavalier is good, but I didn't think he needed as much. He does have Steel types. He's got I don't think it fit as well on this team, especially considering it also had Ferrothorn, which was 2 4x weakness to the fire, which you never want to have more than one 4x weakness to any typing. But he picks up the Vileplume, which I know he already has a grass type in Ferrothorn, but Vileplume's a very good NU mon in this format. It just is. It's got a good defensive typing and defensive stats, so no problem there. Swampert, I think, is very versatile. Physically offensive, especially offensive. Physically defensive, especially defensive. It gets counter, mirror coat, gets all that good stuff. Doesn't have reliable recovery, but he does have like Umbreon for Wish Passing. And he already had a Bulky Water and Blastoise, but Swampert, Grass, Ground, great typing. The only problem I see with his team still is that he just has a lot of same typings, but it doesn't matter for him because he's just been using it really well. So I don't really have many complaints. I don't even have many complaints about how he's battling this week. He battled well. It's just Bergkamp's the Bastardons, man. They're just doing really damn well.
Yep, I had him at my number one as well. His trades, I definitely think they were good choices. Shiftry, really not all that good. Vileplume, really good defensive mon. Escavalier, really good, but with Ferrothorn, not good. So Swampert, definitely better option. I think having this Blastoise as well is a little weird. But, I mean, I trust him. I have faith in him, because I believe he is probably the most consistent player from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And consistency is one of the best things to have as far as a team goes, like a consistent player. A consistent planner and consistent playing, like, you need those. Because in Pokemon, anyone can win any match because you never know what kind of hacks there could be. You never know, like, what kind of 50-50s there might be. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a lot of ifs and ands, like, at the end of a match. Like, you'll be like, oh, I could have lost if I had made this one slightly different play. I could have won if I had made this one slightly different play. And at the end of the day, like, there's just a lot of what-ifs that come into how the match turned out, and consistency is very, very important. And he's just proven to be the best at that, I think. And that is why I keep him at number one.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's going to be... I didn't think anyone was going to be undefeated throughout the entire season. Having 1 or 2 losses isn't going to kill his chances of being in the playoffs. And I think he's just right now, he's just the strongest contender for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is going to wrap up this week's power rankings for week 4, season 1 of PICA. If you have your own power rankings, please leave in the comment section below. I know this was a longer power rankings, but I hope for those of you that listen through, I hope you enjoyed. If you disagree, put your own rankings in the comment sections. And, like we say every week, if you think we're stupid, call us stupid. But this is just our opinions. And any closing thoughts?
We're just people playing Pokemon.
That indeed. Well, we're not the ones playing Pokemon. They are. So...
I mean, we're judging it. That's close enough.
I guess so. But that's all we got for today. My name is Burke. His name is Xavier. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.